In this session, we're going to learn how to factor using the slide and divide method. Remember, when you're factoring, you're going from a sum of terms to a product of terms. You always want to write your expressions in descending order. And when this method works well on factoring trinomials when a is not equal to 1. So let's look at our first example. (2x squared plus 11x plus 9). The first thing we want to do is multiply a times c. And for s, a is 2 and c is 9, and that gives us 18. Once we do this, we want to rewrite our trinomial to be x squared plus 11x plus 18. Now, we want to use our previously learned factoring methods to factor x squared plus 11x plus 18. We can write our sets of parentheses and our x's. And we're looking for factors of c that sum to b, or factors of 18 that add to give us 11. We know those factors to be 9 and 2, and then from here we can write our addition signs. Addition signs are in our trinomial, and that's what we would use in our factor form. So next step is our trick, or the trick to using the slide and divide method. You'll divide the constants of your factors by a from your original trinomial. And if we look at our original trinomial, which is this one, our a is equal to 2. So what you're doing is dividing each constant in your factor by 2. Now once this is done, you have to consider the fractions that are created. If the values divide evenly, you're finished. But if they're not, you have to do a little work. So in the second factor, we see that we have 2 over 2 as a fraction. And that fraction does divide evenly to become 1. So we can create the factor x plus 1, and we're done with that factor. But if we notice the fraction 9 divided by 2, it doesn't divide evenly. So we'll have to work a little bit to simplify this particular factor. 9 divided by 2 does not reduce as a fraction, and it does not divide evenly. So what we'll have to do is move that 2 from the denominator, and it will become the coefficient on x now in our factor. So our factor becomes 2x plus 9. Once you've done that, your final form or your factor form is 2x plus 9 times x plus 1. Let's look at another example. In this particular example, we're going to look at it when we have to factor out a greatest common factor first. And we'll still use the slide and divide method. Our example is 6x squared plus 27x minus 15. So if we look at the coefficients and constants of these terms, we can see that there's a greatest common factor of 3. So the first thing we want to do is factor out that greatest common factor of 3. In doing this, we've created another trinomial. This is the trinomial that we want to look at using the slide and divide method on. And we'll do just like we did before. We'll multiply a times c. And that gives us negative 10. And then we'll rewrite our trinomial So our rewritten trinomial becomes x squared plus 9x minus 10. Now, our next step is to factor our rewritten trinomial. Factoring that, again, we're looking for factors of c that sum to b, or factors of negative 10 that sum to give us a positive 9. So again, we can go ahead and write our parentheses and our x's and use our previously learned factoring methods. Factors of negative 10 that sum to give us a positive 9 are 10 and 1, but we know that our 10 needs to be positive and our 1 needs to be negative. And now the next step is the trick. Remember, you go back to the a of the original trinomial that we were factoring, which for us is 2. And you're going to take that a and divide both constants of our factors by that a. Now once we've done that, we're looking to see that these fractions we've created divide evenly or reduce. Now if we look at our first factor, x plus 10 divided by 2, we see that 10 divided by 2 can reduce to be 5. So now we have our nice, neat factor. And if we look at our back factor, x minus 1 over 2, it's reduced. 1 divided by 2 doesn't necessarily divide evenly, so what we'll want to do is the trick, which is take that denominator and make it the coefficient on x. So now our back factor becomes 2x minus 1. Now that we've done that, we're ready to write our completed factors, which is 3 times x plus 5 times 2x minus 1. Lastly, we can try to check. We can check these factors. Just to ensure that our slide and divide method works nicely, you'll want to use your full method to full these or multiply these together first. First times first gives us 2x squared. Outside gives us minus x. Inside gives us plus 10x. And last gives us minus 5. We'll combine like terms here. And this gives us 2x squared plus 9x minus 5. And lastly, we'll distribute our 3 to each term on the inside of the parentheses, and that gives us 6x squared plus 27x minus 15, which checks with our original trinomial in our example 2 problem.